dealt with so much I've dealt with so much grief and loss, and as well as personal things in my life, just with like life stressors as they come and go. And as the I see the finish line for my bachelor degree, it's a beautiful feeling. So even if I could share a little bit of my story and it can even help encourage just one person, then I know that I'm doing the right thing. So, yeah, here we go. I'm going to talk about my educational journey and a little bit about my personal life and just how it's contributed to my inherent responsibility as a support person. Okay, so on this slide, I included a picture. This is an old picture of me with with our horses. So I wanted to include that picture because I believe that horses are just a beautiful way for us to heal, and they're very therapeutic. And they're also a part of like they helped our people a lot throughout the years since they've been introduced to our people. And they're so what's the word I'm looking for? Healing. They're so healing. And so why I want to become a social worker. So I noticed a lot of injustices within my family, within my community, and just within like all across Turtle Island itself. So as a young kid, I actually understood racism and inequality as a young child, and I actually remember having a conversation with my dad about racism, and I asked my dad, I'm like, why does racism even exist? I wish it never existed, and I wanted to cry, and it's because we had something we were treated we were stereotyped or somebody was being racist towards us at, I believe, a mall, one of the stores. And so that was my conversation with my dad. And he said, pray for that. Pray for racism to stop. Pray for the racist people to stop having racist feelings towards us. So I took that with me and I prayed for racism to stop, and I still do. So, I guess questioning why certain things are the way they are, which now I know is colonization, and now I know from my education that things are the way they are because we were literally had these colonized systems forced onto our people. So, for me, I've experienced intergenerational trauma and adversities from a very young age. My mom is a residential day school survivor, and my Muslim, he's a 60 scoop survivor. Sorry, my late Muslim, he's a 60 scoop survivor and a residential school survivor as well. And his mom as well. And it's just the ripple effect. My grandma, she's also a residential school survivor on my dad's side. And I just learned a few months ago that my grandpa, my late grandpa, he was also a residential school survivor. He went to Blue Quills, but he ran away. And so all of these experiences are just things that affect us in ways that we don't realize until we take a look and just be like, okay, where is this stemming from? So now that I know it's intergenerational trauma, that's why I want to become a social worker. Um, maybe to teach others about intergenerational trauma because I really struggled with it. Like I really, really struggled with it. And I'm really glad that I was educated on intergenerational trauma and that I had MCC to teach me about like the true depths of how it affects you as an Indigenous person. So, yeah, losing the closest people to me to negligent systems such as like the healthcare system, child and family services, um, yeah, just the systems themselves, the justice system, the systems are broken. So, understanding that and really recognizing how addictions, mental health, and ongoing colonization has affected me and the people closest to me. So, understanding, this is the most important one, understanding my inherent responsibility as a support person, because my late grandfather, and my chop ons on both sides, they were all advocates and they were leaders. My grandpa actually advocated, I believe it was in the 1960s or 70s, I could be wrong, might be in the 80s. They actually advocated and they went to Ottawa to lobby the government for Alberta New Start to start up north, where I'm from in Lac-La-Biche. Well, I'm from Kikino, but Lac-La-Biche is the closest town. So Alberta New Start is what's known today as Portage College. So my grandpa actually was one of the advocates for Alberta New Start to be brought to Lac-La-Biche because they wanted education for First Nations and Métis people in our area, and we wanted to do our own education, like so that we're starting something for our people. So my chop on my mom's side, her name was late Veronica Morin. She's from Kikino, Alberta. She was one of the elders that my grandpa and his colleagues actually asked to go to Ottawa, and she went, and she was one of the elders that went and they did a peaceful sit-in, and after that, Alberta New Start started up in Lac-La-Biche, and now it's Portage College. So I'm grateful for my ancestors, especially my late grandpa. He did so much advocacy work. He worked for a few of the correctional institutions as a Native liaison court worker. And I read some of his advocacy letters from the 90s, and he really believed that our people needed a voice and that the systems or something wrong with the systems and the way that they're ran. And he actually offered to volunteer his time to do some research in the correctional institutions because some of the inmates were breaking out. So that's something that I really admire, and I don't I really respect, and I don't take it too lightly. Like I understand now that it's like a big deal that to do this work for, it's not just for like myself, it's for our people, like it's for my family and it's for the future generations to come. And that's why I put a picture, that's my baby in the moss bag. I put a picture of him in his moss bag because this work is for our kids and our future generations. And if our grandparents and our chopons and our ancestors, they thought about us. So now we have to think about our future generations. So and I didn't always understand the importance of that until recently, until probably the last 2 years. So really put in the work in to ensure that I'm becoming a positive role model for my children and also for other for the future generation. Sorry. So for me, I didn't feel heard or understood when I went to the public schools, Western education systems. I felt like I didn't belong. And I know a lot of people can relate with this, so I thought it was important for me to include. And I also recognize that there's a huge gap in supports and funding when it comes to our people, and that changes need to be made ultimately for our future generations. So, because of the life that I grew up with, I wanted to educate myself more about addictions and social issues because I found that that's what's affecting our families and our communities the most. So my strengths as a social worker, I have a lot of lived experiences and experiential knowledge. I myself have struggled with a lot of identity issues as well as grief and loss, as well as intergenerational trauma, which can stem to unhealthy relationships, unhealthy coping mechanisms. So those are some things, some challenges in my life that I had to overcome in order to stay on a good path. So I started my educational, or I'll leave that for the next slide. But there's a lot of things that I needed to overcome and that I've been working tirelessly to overcome so that I can help. Because I heard one of my classmates in the first year we started the IBSW, one of my classmates said something that just resonated with me so deeply. She said, if we can't help ourselves, how are we going to help other people? And it just stuck with me. So I've been doing a lot of inner work and work on myself as an individual to make sure that I'm a healthy person. And that I can be a healthy person when I'm a support person. So MCC has really helped me. They educated me on colonization and colonized oppressive systems that have been forced on our people. And it's something that like you live with, so you experience it, but you don't really know how to put it into words until you're learning these indigenous knowledge systems that point out how these oppressive systems have affected our people. So my resiliency, when I first started my diploma, it was a really hard time for me. Um, my baby niece was only 16 months old and she was murdered by her mom's boyfriend. So, right when I started the social work diploma program, I had to deal with that. And then a month after that, one of my close uncles passed away from cancer. And then a month after that, I lost my first brother, my first cousin who I took as my brother, to drinking and driving. So, I think it's my ability to keep going and for them, ultimately for my loved ones that are in the spirit world. I also just lost my Muslim, the Ukima of our family. I was his oldest granddaughter in December, and that's why I cut my hair. I have usually have long hair, but I cut my hair for my Muslim, and I want to keep going, and I want to finish, and I want to stay on the good path for them because I know that they're always with us, the ancestors. So my advocacy, I think um, I really use my voice, and that's something that kind of like a blessing and a curse. I'm just joking. But I was always a very outspoken person, and uh, it could be good, but at the same time, some people don't want to hear it, especially when it's Indigenous rights. So that's a little bit um, you can be met with a little bit of friction depending on who you want to talk to about colonization, oppressive systems and stuff like that. And so one of my strengths is my ability to advocate and understanding my rights as an Indigenous person. I'm Métis and I'm Cree, so I uphold both of my cultures. And yeah, so understanding my people's history. So this is a big one because I got a lot of oral familial teachings and also understanding my inherent and my inherent slash sacred responsibility to my nation as a support person. I also like to approach people from an understanding point of view and to not be judgmental. I don't like to judge people at all. I've been judged a lot and it's not nice when people judge you, but um, so I just always keep that in mind to be non-judgmental as a social worker, as a support person. Humor. So I really love to laugh and I love to joke and I love when I'm working with colleagues or clients and they get that and it could be really healing. So yeah. Storytelling, I like to, if I can, when it's appropriate, share my experiences and if it can help somebody, then that's literally me doing the right thing. If I can share a little bit and it can help somebody and just one person, then I know I'm doing something right. So my educational journey. So like I mentioned, I experienced loss at a very tender young age. My best friend was my late grandpa, and he passed away when I was 4. And he actually had a prophecy about me when I was small. He said that I would be a leader one day, and that it was up to me to use my voice in a good way. So he knew I was going to be outspoken even before, even before I was probably outspoken. So I grew up learning how to hunt and fish traditionally from my kukum and my late Muslim. I spent a lot of time with my Muslim and my late Muslim and my kukum. They took us gardening, like my my kukum had big gardens, like one potato garden and then another one for her vegetables. And We would work in the garden with them. We would go hunting with them. We would go on annual camping trip to the mountains. We even went on our annual duck hunting trip. So we would go to a certain spot. It was my Muslim spot, and they would go out on the boat and get the ducks and bring them back. And me and my cookum would make a fire, and we'd cook the duck soup and the bannock, everything right there on the fire. And my aunties were there, my mom, my cousins. It was beautiful. Like I'm really grateful that I had um my late Muslim and my cookum, and also my grandma. I spent a lot of time with my grandma and my late grandpa, but mostly my grandma. After my grandpa passed away, we were always there. And that's when she taught me how to Red River jig. I was literally 4 years old when she taught me how to jig and big bannock. Um, I was always encouraged to continue my education, and that education is important. So growing up, I went to school in both Kikino and Goodfish Lake, Whitefish Lake. And then I switched to public school in junior high and high school. And so that experience for me, like I mentioned before, I didn't feel like I belonged in public school. It was just like a struggle for me. It made me feel like something on the inside, it like wasn't right. And so now that I'm educated, what I learned in my classes this past year and last year was that was my I guess my intuition letting me know that this system was not built for me. This education system was not designed for me. It wasn't even made with our people in mind. It was made to literally not to help our people, but to like destroy and to oppress us and marginalize us and assimilate us. And that's what they tried to do to our ancestors with the Western education system through residential school. And I can see how, just with the misinformation and how they don't even teach the proper history, it's ongoing. So that's why I didn't feel like I belonged in school, is because it was a whole system that was not even designed for me. I didn't even feel like I liked education really until I got to post-secondary. So yeah, now that I'm in MCC, I never felt like I truly feel like I belong. Like when I share my experiences with my fellow classmates and with anyone from MCC, I'm understood and I'm heard. And that is just, and other students can relate and they're like, yeah, like I totally, and I've been through that. And it's just like a breath of fresh air, because back home when I try to, bring these issues forward or like let the teachers know or the educators or anybody, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, and it's like, are you gaslighting me? Like, I feel this. Like, I know this doesn't feel right. But when I brought it forward to my classmates and about how colonized systems truly affect us and our mental well-being, they understood. So, it's just like a full circle. And it's just something I'm so grateful for our Indigenous knowledge systems, and to have them implemented into our post-secondary institutions is just amazing. And I love it. And I'm so grateful for MCC. So, I graduated from high school in 2015. And I also didn't grow up with ceremonies. So I think I was 12 when I went to my first powwow. And then I think I was 15 or 16 when I went to my first round dance. And that is when I truly felt like I belonged somewhere, was when I attended the round dance and I was like, hey, like this is amazing. So, um, because my family is like impacted from the residential school system, we grew up going to church, and I was baptized Protestant, and all my family, they go to church and they believe in the Bible. And so ceremonies were kind of stereotyped because of the Christian religion and how it has impacted our beliefs through residential school. So my parents actually didn't even, my dad was the only one that believed in smudge. My mom didn't believe in smudging. So I had to bring that into our home and practice it. And eventually she started accepting it. And yeah, now she actually does believe in smudging, and she will smudge. And I showed her where this age was, and she picked some last year. So just to see that little bit of an impact make like a difference, it was like a really good it was a really good learning experience, and just to really understand how colonization and residential schools has impacted us and is still impacting our families and our communities. So I started reconnecting to our culture when I was a teenager, and I started attending more ceremonies. And in 2017, me and my son and my sister, I took offering for us to the Sundance in Musquecheese, and we received our Cree names. So that was a really awesome experience I'll never forget, and I'm just so grateful for that. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to reconnect and to be welcomed back into my culture, because I'm learning. It's just all, a lot of things are still new to me. And yeah, so I received my community social work diploma in 2019 at Portage College in Aklibish. I attended Norquest College in 2022. I took open studies. I took a few, like, I think I took communications, introduction to introduction to darn it, can't even think. criminal criminal studies. I don't know. I can't think of what it's called, but and another one. Oh, native studies. So coming fast forward to this year, I graduate with my bachelor degree of social work. I'm just finishing up my practicum, so I'm really, really excited. And like I said, my educational journey at Musquecheese has supported me so much in my reconnecting to my culture and truly understanding and upholding my sacred responsibility. So these are pictures of me and my kids. My oldest is 8 and my youngest is 4. So ever since I had my kids, I always wanted to show them a life of their culture because I didn't grow up with ceremonies. So with my oldest, I started going to round dances like just about every weekend when I was pregnant with him. And he's amazing. Like to this day, he goes drums with the drummers, he dances powwow. He just got initiated last week, 2 weekends ago at Enoch at his school powwow. He drums with the drummers now at the round dances. I'm so proud of my boy. He was actually had cultural week this week, and he was scraping hide at his school. And he's an amazing kid, and I like it just comes full circle, and I'm just grateful that that I was able to reconnect enough to continue my reconnecting journey, but also I'm teaching my kids as we go. So my kids are probably more in tune with their culture than I ever was at that age, and that's all I can ask for. And it just makes me so happy and so proud, and just everything that my family has been through with intergenerational trauma and the residential school systems. It's just like a full, like I said, a full circle moment, and it makes me so proud. So this picture was of us in December. We were skating at the outdoor rink. I really try to stay active with my kids and do activities with them that like sport activities with them, so that I'm also staying healthy. And my little guy, he's only 4 years old, but him too, like he's my wild child. He just loves being at any powwow, any round dance we go to. I never took him. I did take him to a sun dance, but it was really hot and he just wanted to run around. But yeah, I'm excited to see as my kids grow older. I'm excited to see them reconnect and keep connecting to our culture, and I'll keep implementing that into our life. I also make sure that they get to go home back to where we're from, and they get to go spend that time on the land, which is so important because that's what I did growing up. And it's really important to have that connection with the land. It's so healing. So yeah, for me, I had a really tough time with my education last year because I was going through a lot of things in my personal life. I split in 2022 with my kids' dad, but unfortunately, we were going through a really nasty split, and I had to take some time off last year because I wasn't able to complete my practicum because I was moving and just a lot of stuff going on. So I had to shove my year 3 and year 4 practicum into a 3 month span. And I had to do 380 hours in one practicum, which should have been broken down into two practicums. So I had to work really, really hard these past couple of months, and I'm almost done. I think I have a little over 20 hours to go, and I'm done. So it's so doable. Like things come into our path sometimes to like try to throw us off, but ultimately, when you know you're supposed to be on that path, upholding your sacred responsibility, it helps you to keep going. So I a lot of the time I wanted to give up. I was like, I don't even think I should be on this path. What am I doing? Like I had self-doubt. Um, and then I turned to prayer and to therapy and to healthy outlets. And January 1st, 2023, I quit drinking alcohol. So I'm also sober from alcohol, and that's something that I felt I needed to do in order to maintain my ultimate well-being of myself, like mental well-being, emotional well-being, physical well-being, just to be a healthy person, and understanding ultimately that that's not our way, that alcohol was never a part of our way, and seeing how it has taken so many people from me that I loved was ultimately the choice that I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm not letting it take control over me or anybody else around me. I'm gonna make the choice to be the change. So yeah, it's doable. Like, it's definitely doable, and anybody can do it if I can do it, and I can keep going with all the things that was going on in my life. I encourage, and I'm always encouraging my classmates and anybody I can to keep going, Akamemok. Um, so I started my practicum placement in the winter term with Manisha, and I was so grateful. I'm so grateful for you, Manisha, because I was really, really grieving. Was really grieving. And Manisha was so kind and understanding and supportive and really, really tried to support me through my practicum. And I think I only got 40 hours done with Manisha, but I let her know like I won't be able to do much. Like I'm really struggling with my grief, and she was so so helpful, and I'm just so grateful for people like Manisha at the college and like Wilda. They really worked with me. They didn't give up on me. And sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional. I'm just so grateful for you guys, for you ladies.
Always take a big
Words
breath.
can't even express how grateful I am. Sorry, did somebody try to say something? Go ahead if you want to cut in or make a comment, go ahead. Feel free to interrupt.
I'll make a comment. This is Chevy.
Hi.
I think it's really cool that you're choosing sobriety because you have children, so I think you're blessed. It's
Mhm.
just me. So like I do have well, I struggle with addiction nowadays as a coping mechanism. I'm gonna be
Yes.
upfront and honest. And because I have no shame because I don't think we need to be shamed into submission. I believe
Yes.
we should be supported, but I
Yes.
understand why people do choose sobriety because of the unhealthy relationship with our trauma. I don't think it's actually the addiction. I think that's just the symptoms because I've had great relationships with alcohol, socially able to drink, but when the trauma got compounded, I used it as not used
Mm-hmm.
it, but it helped numb
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. And I find but I think if you have children and then all that, I think choosing sobriety is the best thing you can do. Because I grew up in a sober
Yes.
home, so I never seen my parents drink, so I understand the value in that. But as a
Um,
single individual person, I think I have to develop my own relationship with my past. And because to be fair, drinking's everywhere.
yeah.
It's so socially acceptable. You go to an Oilers game, you go everywhere, it's there. So and I'm not going to police myself that way. I have to figure out my own solution when it comes to addiction and my
Mm-hmm.
trauma. But right now I'm trying to stay away because my trauma is and my grief is like a little more to handle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I like the fact that you grew up, that you're raising your kids in a sober home because I value that because I know what that feels like and it's safety. You're creating that
Yeah.
safety, and as a journalist advocate, I've noticed a reoccurring theme. People who don't grow up in safe environments, they tend to recreate that when they get older.
Yes.
Or, but
Yes.
there's also a double-edged sword to that too. They also are more a little bit more resilient. All right, there's
Yes.
my little comment.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. And honestly, I really, really admire your parents for raising you in a sober home. I didn't always have my kids in a sober home. Like I used to drink and I used to drink in my home, like just have a couple beer, but still, even that wasn't, when I look back now, I'm just so grateful that I'm sober and I'm on this path because like you said, like we tend to carry on, right? Because like I seen my mom doing that. So I thought it was okay. But as I start to learn and in this being at MCC, how like you said, our people use it to cope, like my chop on, she like what an result. I could just think of her like what she went through while her kids were taken with from the 60s scoop and she spoke only Cree and she drank to cope because of all the pain that she was put through in her life, and she still held on to her language. So our people are very, very resilient. And I also agree with you. We shouldn't be shamed because we're trying to cope and we're trying to stay alive and we're trying to do the best we can with what we have. And I think when we know better, we do better, and that's what it had to take for me was looking at myself and what changes I need to make in order for to be a better person for my own self. So I really admire that you can admit that you struggle too, and I've been there, we've all been there. So if you ever need any support or ever want to just chat, you can email me. I'm a message away. I can give you my contact info when I'm done presenting. Like I'm always here. I'm always like I'm always there for anyone that needs somebody through their just through their journey because I needed somebody through my journey and I had to find those supports. So yeah, I'm always here and thank you for your comment and I agree. I agree with everything you said. So thank you.
Yeah, oh, thank you for being honest too. And I think it just I tend to suffer alone. I've always been
Me
that way.
too.
I tend to heal, come back, and then people see like I call it the veneer of me, and then but they don't see the iceberg behind it.
Yeah.
They don't
Mm-hmm.
see all the barriers I've gone through, all the struggle. They see what I'm presenting because I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
do my best self out of respect for everybody, but
Yeah.
over the years it's been getting very difficult to put that on because I haven't addressed issues like a gay bashing and a few other things and then grief and then compounded trauma and all indigenous
Mm-hmm.
life. um and the only issue I have is sometimes is that why I've learned to isolate myself and silo myself is because the community at large, both non-indigenous and indigenous and LGBTQ, they tend to be lateral violent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I found my safety and my the shame got compounded. Friends turned on me. Then my role in the media and all this, everything was trying to be used against me. I was like, but I'm not doing anything
Mm-hmm.
bad. I'm just stumbling. You know what I mean? I'm not actually doing anything criminal behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean, there's no criminal, but there's no criminal intention behind it. It's just a silly person, being a human. And then people were very
exactly.
lateral violent. And then the dominant culture seized as an excuse to try and create a criminal structure around the addiction. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm going to penalize you because you're not being productive or you're stumbling. So if we can
Mm-hmm.
find it, we're going to find a way to make sure you're almost like socially entrapped into, it feels like penalized for suffering. And then you have the indigenous
Yeah.
people shaming and cultural supremacy and also all this like barriers and then it's disguised as a healing journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I understand completely what you're saying. Like the lateral violence, and especially with like people like us that struggled with addiction, it's hard because they want you to like have it all together. It's like we're not gonna have it all together. Like we're only
Yeah.
human. Yeah, we're only human. Like we struggle too. Um, I just struggled with a really unhealthy relationship with my kids' dad, and I honestly felt like quitting the degree because I was struggling with that so badly. But why would I let one relationship affect my whole career, my
Oh,
whole
yeah, that's so
life
smart.
when that's not who I am? I'm so much more than that person that I was dealing with, you know what I mean? So I look at it, I'm trying to look at it that way, like even with the things I've overcome, like it made me a stronger person to where if I'm sitting with clients now in my practicum, these clients are dealing with addiction, homelessness, you name it, trauma, grief. I can sit and I can say, hey, I can understand where you're coming from. And if it's okay if I share, like this is what I've experienced too as an Indigenous person, like and it builds that positive relationship and that understanding that hey, you're not alone and there's people out there that actually understand too and that see the societal issues at a large, like all these societal expectations. Like I always say, I don't conform to societal norms. I don't even wear match socks. You know what I mean? Like um we don't need to conform to society. We can just be ourselves, and this is a safe space, and I totally respect and honor everybody and everyone, every individual for who they are, and I think that that's how we should look at our Indigenous people as very resilient because everything that you've been through and that you've handled thus far, like you're still going and you're still here and you're still showing up. So thank you for coming today and thank you for sharing and just keep showing up. Thank you.
Hi,
Okay.
Kashina.
Hi.
My name is Sharon Desjardins, and I also am Korean Métis. My mom is from Frog Lake First Nations.
Oh,
My dad
nice.
is from Elizabeth Métis Settlement.
Awesome.
What I also not wondered, but it experienced a lot of where do I belong? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Still today, uh, my mother lives on the Métis settlement where she lived with our late dad. And we still have a lot of lateral violence, meaning I'm not accepted because I have First Nations blood, or I'm not accepted by the First Nations because I have Métis blood. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really sad. Then I learned to truly live for myself and not carry that because that's not my issue. And
Yes.
I know who I am. And it took a lifelong journey. Like I'm 57 years old, and to experience that, and it's a really sad part of our people that no one discusses. That
Mm-hmm.
is there, that exists, and it's like the elephant in the room. But I seen my grandparents, both sets of my grandparents, pray together, and I think that was my saving grace. That my Métis grandparents showed up on the First Nation to pray with my grandparents. My
Oh.
saving grace is my parents continued the language. I speak my language as well fluently. So they showed me to be proud and they showed me, like your family, to be who we are, to speak our language, to know our ways, and to share that. I just wanted to touch on neurodivergence. I know that's not part of your presentation, but I am autistic. And I use that as my superpower because we're very intelligent. And a lot of our addictions and displacement and isolation also comes from mental health. And what rang true to me is people see you because we learn to mask, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I learned to mask to be
Mm-hmm.
accepted and being comfortable of being neurodivergent. And it's a shame that we have to show that we're really struggling to get help.
Mm-hmm.
However, um, we just got to continue speaking our truth. I present myself as proud. It's not a mask because my family are very, like many people, good people, proud people. And I'm always proud to show who I am because in my head held high, because my dad didn't go to school, but I model what he role modeled me. He was always a proud Métis man, and I model that regardless of what other people think. And your presentation is like very familiar and similar for our people. And I just wanted to share that the mental health aspect, it all goes hand in hand,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm appreciative that you shared your story and in an eloquent and a resilient way. Um, that I appreciate that because I went through similar, but I've and it's creating these spaces, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
safety, of respect, of
Yeah.
include and including one another and creating that, extending that out from the programs you're taking. Thank you very
Mm-hmm.
much.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I really love when you guys share and that even if you could resonate a little bit with my journey, I know that it's we're on the right path. So thank you for sharing. And I really, really agree with you that mental health is like something that we shouldn't take lightly. And I didn't know either that I even struggled with mental health until I probably was an adult. Like it's something that we don't really think of as kids or adolescents, but it does affect us a lot. And yeah, thank you for sharing so much. And I really admire that about your family and your resiliency too. And yeah, Akamema, keep going. Thank you for sharing. Um,
Oh, can I add something?
yeah,
Oh, this is Chevy. Sorry, but I have ADD.
no worries.
But I didn't take medication until I was an adult, but I should have taken it when I was a kid too. But lessons learned. It would have helped me with my schooling. But I good in school, hard to focus, all over the place,
Mhm.
but really creative. I understand like the biracial aspect growing up in Musquecheese. I have an English grandfather, and then growing up in my small town, being proud of my small town and support it. Although I'm First Nation, I often felt like my cousin who passed away, who I'm grieving with, she was biracial. We have a very mixed reserve. Almost all of us are biracial,
Mhm.
although we are First Nation, but we're all mixed with Irish, there's German, there's English. Mine is English. I have a German stepfather. Great guy. Through all of this, I realized how blessed I was to actually have a very safe and inclusive step family too. So
Aw.
yeah, it ended up being all of this like learning curve I've gone through in the last decade has been on the flip side a blessing on how grateful I am.
Mhm.
But also I realized that like to Shannon's story, like I've often never felt like I belonged. I felt like I was like two generations ahead. And I often
Mhm.
felt like I was like looking around. I was like, this is a really archaic society, not indigenous, but like the whole society in general. It's like a very new, and I'm like, all of this seems silly at times because it's why aren't we focused on progress
Mhm.
rather
Yeah.
than focused on our gifts rather than the trauma. But I think that's where we're at. But what I was saying is that I've struggled with not the Métis or First Nation identity. I love and accept both and I actually find, but I understand living in two worlds and in respect
Mhm.
our shared history. So as a journalist, I tend to highlight not the trauma, I do recognize it of our shared history, but I try to find that bridge, that narrative where we're proud of our European and Native history,
Mhm.
but it's really hard.
Yeah, it is. I know. I could relate. I actually have a chop on who's a Englishman straight from England on the Métis side. On the Métis side, so I can
Me
relate to
too.
that.
Mine is straight after boat too. I have inherited like these family heirlooms. He was like sailor hats and all that kind of stuff.
Oh wow, that's awesome. But it's. I understand it's like a little bit challenging because you're like you wanna uphold the like who you are, right? And don't ever feel like you have to like uphold one or the other. Like always that's who you are and you can uphold and honor both sides. Like and that's the beautiful thing about you said biracial? Is that what the
Yeah,
term
it's
you used?
I would say biracial. There's triracial too, because I have a niece who's a quarter black, quarter English,
Oh,
and yeah. So it's the new generation. It looks with very international look. You can't put them in every group; they'll blend right in. That's how I am.
mm-hmm,
People thought I was Eurasian
mm-hmm.
because I have green eyes and all that kind of stuff. So they thought I was Eurasian when I came to Edmonton. So I was able to blend in as a makeup artist for Holt Renfrew, and no one ever knew my
Oh,
nationality. And
no
being on
way.
TV for 12 years as for a spokesperson, like just as highlighting causes, the TV said, you have that look and that syntax that is like, you don't know where you're from. It's really good for TV because a lot of people see, the new generation sees you, not just Indigenous, but a new group of newcomers
Mm-hmm.
see themselves in you too. So it was really good for a while.
That's awesome. So that's a really good strength to have. You're like our undercover. Just joking.
Oh, but I also joke with people. I'm like, oh, they're like, what's your traditional language? I'm like, you're speaking it. My grandpa's English.
That's a good one. I should start using it. Oops.
It's just a joke, but I respect both sides too. But I'm like when people
Yeah,
ask me, I'm like, I'm English on my dad's side.
yeah. That's a good one. I might have to use that one day if you don't mind. That's so awesome. But thank you both, Chevy and Sharon, for sharing your experiences. And I'm really glad that there's like as I continue my journey, I always find like-minded individuals or individuals who are like, hey, like I can relate to your story. And then it makes me feel like I'm on the right path because when we go through these struggles, when we deal with grief and loss, and we're having really hard days, or mentally we're crying all day, like just one of those days, or something triggers us and we get upset, like those are the days that are hard, and you're like, I don't even feel like I should keep going, and it's normal. It's normal to have bad days. It's normal to feel like to question things. It's normal to have like just yeah, it's normal to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay, so when I have these moments where um I'm with other classmates or colleagues or students from our college, and we can relate to each other, it makes me feel so good on the inside because I'm like, you know what? I'm not alone. They're not alone. We can relate. We're doing it. We're resilient, and it makes me so proud to be Cree and Métis, and it makes me so happy that there's other people out there that are also finding their way because yeah, we have to uphold our inherent and sacred responsibilities, and I'm really grateful that I learned what mine is, and that's being a support person. And had I not gone through all of those things I went through and all of those struggles and all those losses, I don't think I would be the strong resilient person here before you today, that we can have these conversations, and it can be a safe space, and we can share, and we can relate to each other, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So thank you both. Yeah, so like I said, my practicum, my journey on my educational journey, it hasn't been easy, but ultimately I knew I wanted to finish. So I started, yeah, like I said, I started my practicum with Manisha, and she was amazing. I loved it. And then in 2000, April 2024, I started at the Jasper Place Family Resource Network here in Edmonton. It's on the west side of Edmonton. So for me, I didn't want to get into doing a practicum placement with Child and Family Services or the government. The reason for that is because I don't feel like their systems are functioning effectively or efficiently for our people. And I just couldn't see myself trying to get into the swing of things with a system that I don't agree with. So I wanted to do my practicum somewhere where it's programming and services, and something that is, I guess, kind of community development-ish. So with the Jasper Place Family Resource Network, they offer so much programming Um, they've been there since 1972, but I didn't know that. They started out as a small childcare center and now they're a whole organization. They offer a wide range of parent-related services. They have multiple locations, so in West Edmonton, so they have the Orange Hub, which is their main location, and that's where I'm out. I work out of there two days out of the week, and then I'm at the other locations. So I also go to Sherwood Community League, the Cabrini Center, and I've been to La Pearl like a few times, but mostly at Cabrini and the Orange Hub. So I shadow a program facilitator slash service coordinator at JFRN. Her name is Stephanie Basker. She's amazing. I love her so much. Like she is so good. She is so supportive. She's so amazing at her job. She really tries to support every individual she works with. Like you can tell she has passion in her job. And it's not always like that with people that run programs and stuff. But her, like I can tell that she actually cares about um becoming like she's constantly growing. She's constantly growing. Like even when I talk to her about anything that went through or like I deal with or intergenerational trauma, she's like so understanding and like she's taken a lot of time to understand our people and to understand the things that we've been through because of colonization. And that is something that I so truly appreciate because when you come into a city or anywhere that um I guess isn't I guess sometimes you can be met with resistance and people that are just like, okay, yeah, whatever. But like she's not like that. So I'm really grateful. And I shadow her and I ultimately gain more knowledge on preventative approaches and how to apply them through various programming. So this is why I wanted to do my practicum here is because I strongly believe in preventative approaches. I don't believe that our kids should be taken from their families um initially. Like there should be some steps in place before that happens. And I know there is some steps, but I don't think that they're adequate enough. That's just my opinion. So, the way that they do the preventative approaches, it's programming and it's services so that to support parents and individuals and families so that they can I guess educate their own selves on how to be better, how to gain better skills, I should say. Um, so yeah, I participate in client programming and services such as Health for Two, Triple P Parenting, Stay and Play, Parents and Kids Club, and Baby and You. So out of all these programming, I think back home, the only programming we had was Health for Two, and Triple P Parenting would come in and do their workshops in a 3-day span. And it's not at all like the way they're ran here. Like there's so much more care and focus into what they're doing here as to up back where I'm from. Like, I'll just give an example. When I was in Health for Two, Health for Two is a program for pregnant moms, and then after you have your baby, they stick with you for 2 months after you have your baby. So when I took Health for Two back home with my youngest son, I struggled really bad from postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, really bad. And I didn't get a referral to mental health services or anything. I didn't even get offered supports. What Health for Two would have done here and I'm here at Orange Hub and Jasper Place Family Resource Network is I would have just stated that I'm dealing with postpartum depression, and they would automatically refer me to like Roots and Wings. You want a Roots and Wings worker? They will come into your home, come do visits, come support you and work with you, whatever you want. And they would have offered that to me as well as to the mental health services. They would have referred me to a therapist or a counselor. They would have referred me to what else? Like any other supports that I would have needed, food, anything. Like they would have been there for me. But back home, because there's such a big gap in funding and programming and services, it was pretty much like, I have postpartum depression. Okay, well, you can call mental health. That was it. And then I think she visited me once after I had my baby, and that was it. And that was it. So, like, I can see the differences in the programming, and ultimately, as a support person and as someone who cares about issues like this, I would love to see these types of programming be brought into our communities back home. And I think that they would benefit because back home we have Lac La Biche is the main town, and then the surrounding communities there is my home, Kikino, and then Goodfish, Beaver Lake, Heart Lake, Buffalo Lake, all these small communities, High Low, Caslin, all relying on Lac La Biche for services. And there is such a huge gap, and I could see it, and I know that there needs to be change, and I know that there needs to be more supports for our people back home and just in general. So even work doing my practicum here and being able to help urban Indigenous people because some of our clients are Indigenous, it's a really amazing experience because I I have a lot to offer as an Indigenous support person, and I didn't know that until I stepped into my role here at at my practicum placement. Like things that a non-Indigenous person couldn't support Indigenous people with, I was able to come in and offer that support. So that made me feel really good that I was able to do that. And this is just a picture of me and Stephanie at an interagency. We had an interagency meeting, I believe, last month. And so all the agencies came and had booths, and then we just gave out information about all of our programs. Yeah, it was a really good day. And I got to experience a lot of interagency and I think one, two interagency activities, but I'll touch on that on the next slide. So yeah, when I aid and facilitate in these types of programming, I also gain more knowledge and understanding of what it takes to actually facilitate and coordinate these programs for clients and families. So I help with the setup and then running it, and then as well as cleanup. That's for the groups. For the clients, I just pretty much, excuse me, I pretty much just sit and listen in and shadow Stephanie. And then after we work with the clients, we work on the case notes and any type of referral or intake forms or anything like that we need to do and register. I also learned about what kind of forms they need to fill for their funding and how the funding actually works. So that was a really good experience for me as well, because now I have an idea of what it takes to run this program in, what's needed for the funding, and what's needed to gain more funding. So yeah. So the JFRN focuses and utilizes preventative approaches, and that's something that I really, really love, and that's the whole reason why I went there. So they work with four main spokes. Sorry, I know I'm kind of going over time. Manisha, is that okay?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So they work together to create healthy supports for clients and families, and it's all about keeping the families together, and they want like families to do better. So um the four main spokes are the Family Center, Family Futures, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and the Terra Center for Young Parents. So anyone can access services and programming, and everyone's welcomed. And I highly suggest, if you guys are in Edmonton or know of anyone on the west side of Edmonton that wants to bring their kiddos or to any of the kid groups, or even to come gain some knowledge on anything, any type of parenting or struggling with parenting, because honestly, I struggle with parenting still to this day. Like, we're not perfect. We all struggle at one point or the other, especially being a single mom, and having to choose to stay on a healthy path for me and my kids. It gets lonely, but at the same time, I gain a lot of knowledge from these from just doing the programming, like the triple P parenting. Like, it gives me tips on like how to deal with um my 8-year-old, or how to deal with my 4-year-old and stuff like that. Like how to just, I guess, gain more skills on how to support my kids in a better way, because we're not perfect, you know, as parents. We get irritated, we can lose our cool, but ultimately learning how to be better and how to overcome that as a parent. And there's so much parents out there that access these supports, but there's also a lot of services and stuff that you can be referred to come to access the programming, but you don't have to be referred to. So you can just come in and be like, I want more knowledge and more skills on how to do this and this and this, and then they'll let you know like what they have, what kind of supports and services they have to offer you. And yeah, it's awesome because it's really helped me too with my personal, I guess my own parenting. So yeah, they offer tools and skills for parents to build on while they are young, and this sets them up for successful growth. So this is just their mission statement, their vision statement, and their belief. So according to the annual report, more than 584 people accessed basic needs and supports in 2023. So that's a lot. So for me, as a Nihio Métis woman, I really believe in revitalizing our Cree Nihio knowledge systems. So uplifting and empowering clients through a strength-based approach and utilizing my experiences or experiential knowledge. I also have a lot of conversations with like other parents at our groups and stuff. There's a lot of newcomers that come into the program and we like to so some of them are from like Nepal, places in India, the Philippines. I met one lady from Welsh, England. Um, so we like to just, they always get into asking me about like why I'm in social work and like, you know, who I am. And we always get into talking about colonization. And I always like to bring a little bit of education on why I'm in this field. And so that's always important to me. And a lot of it is seeing the similarities between me as an Indigenous person here and also with someone else who's an Indigenous person across the world. So there's a lot of similarities there. And even when I took the Indigenous Worldviews course in 2023 in my third year, and that brought so much like understanding to how there's so much similarities within our cultures, like the different Indigenous cultures from across the world, but it's due to colonization. Um, so it's always cool to have, for me, it's always cool when I get to have these conversations with the newcomers or with any of the clients and they're like, wow, like we're similar, like we've experienced the same things. And it's really uplifting and it's honestly really I think it's really healing to be able to have those conversations and for them to be safe conversations is really, really important. So I believe in healing through cultural approaches. I believe in holistic approaches towards wellness and healing. I believe in restorative justice, and I also believe in discovering our true inherent or sacred responsibility. Everybody has a sacred responsibility, and they're born into that responsibility when they're born into their nation. And it's ultimately upholding your inherent responsibility. So my methodologies, Métis knowledge systems and oral Métis familial history. So I grew up predominantly Métis. I heard my grandparents speak Cree, my Mushroom Kukum, and my grandma speaks Michif and Cree, but like I said, I never was brought to any type of ceremony. So that aspect of our culture was really missing. So it's something that I had to go and get myself. And I'm really glad that I did though because I'm still like to this day I still try my best to attend ceremonies and I'm looking forward to the Sundance. I know there's Sundances happening in Musqueam, but I'm looking forward to the one in July and I'm hoping that we can attend. So yeah. So I received my teachings from elders and knowledge keepers throughout my life and while at MCC. I have reconnected to my culture so much through MCC and all of the cultural teachings that they have provided the students with the past 2 years is something that I really, really, really love. So I highly recommend that if you guys have a chance to take part in the cultural weeks, I think they have them in February and November, do so and take all the notes, and you can use them for practicum hours too, by the way, and take notes because that knowledge is just so, 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 so significant and important. It's so important. I understood so much. I learned so much from Dr. Jerry Saddleback about our Cree knowledge systems and how they had to go hide them away in order to make sure that he could bring them to us today. It's amazing. And it makes me so proud to be Cree and so proud to be at MCC where our knowledge, like our Cree knowledge is being brought and it's being implemented into our education systems. It's so amazing to learn about. So I like to use a narrative approach with my professional practice. So like I'm doing here today, talking about my educational journey, storytelling. So I like to utilize a strengths-based approach to empower and encourage clients to go inwards to discover or rediscover their true selves, which is also their inherent sacred responsibility. So if I never had my the first counselor I seen was Mrs. Belanger, and I was 12 years old. And if it wasn't for Mrs. Belanger to truly make me see that my strengths and who I am and empower me the way she did with her, like the cultural aspect, but also with loving kindness and that empowerment and that support and making me see my strengths. I don't think I would be on this path because I had her to show me that um like this is my path, like being a support person. It's what I'm gonna do when I'm older. And I had a really good counselor, and that was Mrs. Belanger. And then I had another really good counselor in high school, and I guess I lucked out that way. I guess I was blessed to have them because the way they helped me through a strengths-based approach is what really helped me to utilize a strengths-based approach, because when you point out somebody's strengths, it makes such a difference. Like somebody could be struggling and seeing like all the negativities or all the I guess the just the negative stuff that they're going through. And then it's hard to see that like all the good that you embody when you're dealing with so much trauma, grief and loss. So to have that one person come in and say, "Hey, I noticed that you have this as a strength and you're doing really well with that." And even you coming to talk and, like recognizing your strengths is just it's amazing, but it's also a part of who we are as Indigenous people. So prior to colonization, that's what we would do. We would discover our strengths and our inherent responsibility, and we would encourage each other. And that's what our gifts, that's what our gifts would be, is what our strengths would be. So it's really amazing because a strengths-based approach is also what our people used to do prior to colonization. And yeah, it's just something that I really use in my practice. So this can be done through cultural healing, mindfulness practices, different perspectives, going inwards, ceremonies, elder teachings, reconnecting to the land, etc. So I put all of these stuff because this is all the stuff that I had to do, and I did, and I keep doing to continue my healing journey, because healing's not linear. Healing's messy. Healing goes this way, and then sometimes you got to go this way in order to go back this way. So we're taking all these curves and all these turns, but ultimately we're still on that healing journey. So that's something that I learned that from my supervisor, Stephanie, actually. She said, sometimes when you're healing, you got to go this way, and then you're going to take this road, but this road's going to bring you back to this road. So sometimes you got to go a little bit that way to get back on the, and you're still on the healing journey, and that's what's important. So my practicum placement is really supportive and really supportive towards the cultural aspect of the IBSW. So I shared with them how I am on my own personal reconnecting journey, and I feel very supported in my practicum placement. I gain more knowledge about my culture and other cultures, as well as my culture at my practicum placement. With my practicum placement, I've had the opportunity to attend a women and men's lodge with the Red Road Healing Society. It was amazing. I also got to attend medicine teach-ins and land-based teach-ins with Bent Arrow Traditional Healing Society, and that was also with like the main boss, like the director of JFRN, I went with her and I got to like meet her, like get to know her more, and it was really good. Like that's another good thing about JFRN is like all the executive directors and the bosses, they're so open to learning about Indigenous culture, and they're so supportive and understanding. So for additional practicum hours, I also attended powwow practices here at the Orange Hub. And I have attended powwows and round dances since beginning my practicum placement. I'm always supported by my supervisor and her supervisors. I also learned how to network within agencies and how to refer clients to the proper supports that they need. Oops, I meant to put that they require supports they require, but it got So here's the pictures of me when we went to we did the land-based teaching. This is right after I gave a tobacco offering. Um, my tobacco offering was back here in front of, ooh, what am I doing? Ooh, oh, I went ahead too far. Sorry. I gave tobacco offering to the one of the trees in the back and well beside it, and I said a prayer, and as I had my hand on the tree, I was praying and I had my eyes closed. Something tapped the tree from the inside, like I don't know, a bug or whatever, but I was like, wow, like, you know, nature's connecting with me in this moment. So it was really good because where I'm from, it's all bush, and this was in the Edmonton River Valley. So it was a really good experience, and it made me miss home because this is how in Kikino, where I'm from, it's literally like all bush, and that's where I grew up in the bush, and I really miss it. So this was a good experience. Um, this is pictures from just all my experiences at since doing my practicum. So the first picture is me and my oldest son at his initiation. He got initiated into the powwow circle and he dances chicken. He doesn't have full regalia yet, but he loves to dance, and I always encourage him to because he just loves it. The bottom picture of the sage was at our medicine teaching. So we were cleaning some sage, and then I actually was able to get some sage after that, which was good because I needed some. The middle picture is inside the lodge at the Orange Hub. That was before we started the men's and women's lodge. I was sitting in the teepee and just admiring it and wishing we could go back to living in the teepees. Just joking. The top picture is me and my baby. That's at the Ben Caffrell Mother's Day powwow. We were inside another teepee there. And the bottom picture is the fish and chips I had from the men's and women's lodge. They fed us fish and chips and it was so good. So yeah, these are just some of the experiences I got to have while doing my practicum. And I'm really grateful because when I do things like this, it also heals me, and it heals all the hurt and the grief and the loss, and it feels so good to be able to practice my culture while also going for my degree. So practicum has contributed to my social work practice by increasing my cultural competency. I learned about other cultures and newcomers to Canada. I also had a client whose grandmother was Métis, but she was a part of the hidden generation. So the hidden generation is the generation of Métis people that went into hiding and didn't say they were Métis out of fear of the government and everyone else in society mistreating them, marginalizing them, oppressing them. So, to really connect with that client the way I did, I actually gave her baby a Métis sash, a baby sash, because they're just now starting to learn about their Métis culture and about being proud of that. And so for some encouragement, I gave her a baby sash, and she was so grateful for it, and her baby is so cute. She's 4 months old. So that's another thing like that. Like when I learn about things like that and I'm able to to aid in somebody else's reconnecting journey, it's just a beautiful full circle moment. So I have increased my knowledge about intersectionality as well. Intersectionality is something I didn't know about. So I'm grateful I learned about it. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but I'll just give an example. So intersectionality would be, well, for me, I'm Indigenous. I'm a woman. I'm Indigenous. I'm a woman. I belong to a minority group. And I struggle with depression. So those would be some of the things that describes me, that different sections of me that makes me who I am. So intersectionality is something that we need to consider when we're working with clients, because it's such a huge aspect. Like, somebody can look like a normal person, but they could have a learning disability. They can have mental health problems. They can belong to a minority group. They could belong to LGBTQ2S. Sorry if I don't know the acronym fully. But yeah, that's just what intersectionality is. And it's so important that we recognize that, and that we're starting to educate and teach um, our professionals and our people that run our program in about intersectionality, because it brings that awareness about who you're working with. And yeah, it's amazing. So I have gained skills and knowledge from my own personal parenting skills, which is something that I'm really, really grateful for, because I don't have I didn't have a healthy mother to learn from, because she was a residential school survivor. She also struggles to this day with addiction. And because of that, I've had to find a healthy supports, and navigate parenting and everything since my first son was born on my own. So being able to gain more skills on parenting, and I guess also brain development and stuff like that when it comes to parenting your kids, it's been a huge, I'm really grateful. Like, I'm really grateful to have learned that. And when we know better, we do better. So that's that's the ultimate takeaway for me. So one of my weaknesses I learned is writing case notes. But I also learned that practicing makes perfect. So it's something that I'm going to keep working on. I now understand how preventative approaches are very resourceful and are very much needed. So I also increased my self-awareness on the importance of self-care. So I need to take care of myself more. And for me, I pray a lot. I am really spiritual. I'm a really spiritual person. And so for me, it's that taking that 5 minutes in the morning to say my prayers before I get out of bed, or as I'm in the kitchen preparing, you know, the lunches for school, or my coffee in the morning, just connecting with Creator and taking that time to take care of myself. Um, and on a lot of the times we don't remember to take care of ourselves. And I'm guilty of that. Like, as a mom, and just being tired and exhausted from the workday, and then coming home and having to cook supper, like, it gets hard to, you can't just run a bubble back and be like, oh yeah, self-care, that's self-care. Like, it's much deeper than that. So for me, it's remembering to take care of myself, and I like to stay active. I like to work out and exercise. So even going for a walk, like that helps my mental health so much. And my baby's daycare is not too far. It's like 7 blocks away. So I walk to go get him, and it literally helps me so much with my mental health. Just to go for that 20-minute walk, it helps. So this is the biggest one for me. Understanding that there are like-minded individuals out there who see that there's changes that need to be made, and that work tirelessly to make those changes. um, I'm grateful for that. And even for my classmates and my colleagues at MCC, I'm really grateful that we all get to share our experiences and be in a safe place and be supported. It's amazing. So I just wanted to share these because this is my little guy when he was 2. So he started out on the outside of the circle, looking in at the drummers, and fast forward to today, here's my little guy here with the braid and the gray jacket. He's now a part of the drumming circle, and when he goes to round dances and wants to sing or drum, he's always welcomed in. And I love and appreciate that so much. And um, the men are always what's the word I'm looking for? Supportive, but they're also like really good to him when he comes to the circle. They're welcoming. And it's just amazing to see how he came from this little tiny guy, wanting always to go to round dances, and then now he's actually taking part and doing the drumming and learning the songs. And ultimately, that's what I'm doing this for. That's why I'm doing this, is because it's for my kids and our future generations, because I want them to be able to practice their culture growing up, like my son got the chance to, my sons. I want them to be able to recognize what colonization has done to us, recognize that these systems are they can be questioned and they can be changed, and the legislation and the policies, they can be changed because they're not working for us. And when we recognize that that change needs to happen, and we start doing the work like what we're doing in school here, as being going for our education at an indigenous institution, that's like the biggest, like the best, most important thing you can do. I don't know if you guys know Tayaki Alfred, but Tayaki Alfred believes in cultural resurgence, and he says that a lot of our people are doing this through going for their education and achieving their education. And I love Tayaki Alfred. He's so he I if you guys have any chance, have a chance, YouTube Tayaki Alfred. Just listen to a couple minutes of him. He's a really intelligent person. Go, Chevy, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have to get going. I just have to go to get some medication, but I love this talk. I put my email there, but I like what you're saying. Can relate to it because I grew up in a sober home. I was raised in love. I saw respect, and I did a presentation on respecting all genders because I
Mm-hmm.
comes through my own authenticity. I grew up with being respected by men, by women, and also mutual. No focus on trauma, no focus on my gender identity. I was literally, all my cousins said they were told, let Chevy figure out Chevy's way.
No.
So I had a full big family supporting me. So I grew up in a bubble of cousins and aunts and uncles, but there was
Yeah.
never no focus on my gender at all, ever. It wasn't until I got gay bashed and I realized it's a whole different world, and then lateral violence and then cultural supremacy and all these different new crash course in life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I grew up watching my auntie Sarah Shaw go at the Centennial Award. So I grew up with change makers taking on the government of Canada through lots of lawsuits, $30 million worth of lawsuits, and then taking on child and family services. But what really struck out for me is that my grandma, 66 survivor, Sarah Shug, married a German, she didn't do it just for Indigenous. She did it for everybody. And that's why she
Mm-hmm.
got the Centennial Award. So that's what I do when I try to find a common link on how will this benefit the overarching picture. And I think all of those
Yes.
ingredients kind of like shape, I guess in this moment I recognize shaped my outlook.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's why
Thank you,
role
Chevy.
models are important. Okay, but I have to get going.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. Thank you for sharing, and I'll take your email down. Thank you so much for participating and being here, though.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Have a good day. Take care. Bye.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Role models are so important. So, yeah, just ultimately it's for our future generations, and that's why I stay on the good path, and I want to live Miopi Matisuin, the good life. It's for my babies, it's for my kids, it's for my nieces and my nephews, it's for the future generations, it's for my future grandbabies, it's for their kids, it's for all our people, you know. Oh, why is it frozen? Is it moving on your guys' end? Hmm. Manisha, I think it's frozen. Is it moving, guys? I don't know. Oh, there we go. Okay,
Yes,
there.
yes, it's moving.
Oh,
It's moving.
yay. Okay, so that concludes my presentation. I just want to say, Kananaskum Tan, hi. Thank you for being here during my presentation. And I want to say Akamemok, never give up. Um, at times it gets really tough on the journey of being a student, and we have to deal with so much within the within the Western systems and intergenerational trauma. And yeah, just Akamemok, don't give up. And Creator Kisamantu's got you. And if any of you ever need um a friend or anyone or a support person, I'm there. I'll leave my email in the chat. And yeah, just want to thank you everyone for listening. And thank you, Manisha, for this opportunity and for being so supportive on my journey. I cannot thank you enough. And Wilda and everyone at the college, I'm really, really grateful. So hi. And any questions or anything, feel free to chime in.